Ladies and gentlemen, today we have with us a special guest, Mr. Bashir Ahmad. He is also known as Som Chai, which in Thai means real man. He has been a professional MMA player for years now, and he grew up in America, and then he went to Malaysia, he went to Thailand, and he did a lot of work in Pakistan as well. So today we'll get to know about him and what he did in his career. Thank you very
Sure.
much for joining
Yeah,
us today.
thank you for having me.
How is life going? Is everything going good in these
Yeah.
recent COVID times?
Everything is going well. I have to say that I'm probably luckier than a lot of people in this time period in the world. So I'm very grateful for the situation that I'm in. And how about yourself?
Yeah, I'm very well. Everything is going well, in hard times as well. So
Yeah.
life is going well. So Bashir, you have did a lot of work. So first of all, I would like to know how was it growing up in the US? Like you were, I think 2 or 3, you went to US.
Correct. Yeah, I was two and a half when I went to the United States, and I mean I had a normal immigrant American upbringing for the 80s and 90s, I would say.
Yeah,
It was a time when a lot of people from a lot of new countries were immigrating to the United States, and people were not as culturally aware as they are now. I mean, there's plenty of places in the United States that are still not culturally aware, but I moved to the DC area, and that in that period, the DC area, along with I'm sure California and Texas and the Northeast, were seeing a big influx of immigrants from places like Pakistan and Afghanistan, Cambodia, Vietnam. Countries that people really were not familiar with. So
yeah,
it was an interesting time, I would say,
yeah.
but memorable to me. Yeah.
Impressive. And then you probably joined military as well, US military as a medic. How was
Yes.
it
Yeah.
then?
Yeah. Yeah. I joined the United States military in 2002. Yeah, I joined as a medic, and I went to boot camp in 2002 to 2003. After boot camp, I was home for maybe 4 months, 5 months, and then I was shipped off to Iraq in February of 2004.
Oh, perfect, impressive. And why did you leave the army to professionally start MMA, or I know you started at
Uh,
like 23.
yeah. I started training in MMA when I was maybe 24, 25.
Oh,
Um,
oh,
yeah, so I started actually quite late. Um, and I started soon after I got out of the military, or rather, soon after I got back from Iraq. And I mean, I decided to leave the military just because my contract was up, and then I got what I wanted out of the military.
yeah,
So my contract is up, and there was no reason for me to continue on with that.
yeah, yeah. And Bashir, there's a very interesting fact about you that you are called Som Chai, I guess. I hope I'm
Yeah,
pronouncing it right. How
yeah.
like who started it? And
That nickname actually came on my first visit to Thailand, which was around about the time that I started getting into martial arts and mixed martial arts. So that was summer of 2006. Yeah, summer of 2006. So I came here to Thailand with a friend just to, not to train or anything like that, but just on a tour of Southeast Asia. We went to Thailand, and we went to into Malaysia as well. We just like did a loop there. And when we were in Thailand, we were in Phuket, and I was training at a Muay Thai camp there,
yeah,
just 4 or 5 day period. Um, but there was a restaurant that we used to go to all the time, and they couldn't
yeah,
say my name, so the owner just called me Som Chai
yeah.
and called my friend Bun Lee. But my friend never returned to Thailand after that. But I kept on returning, and then people who didn't were having problems with my name or asked if I had a nickname, I would just tell them Somchai, and it just became my nickname in
Yeah.
Thailand. Yeah. So Somchai, like it means like a man. It's like the root word for male, and it's a common way that you would refer to a male in old stories or old poetry and stuff like that. So it's also a very common name. It's not so common now. It's kind of like an old name.
Yeah.
Uh, like old men will have it. People don't name their kids Somchai anymore in Thailand.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of it's a regular Thai name. But it's one that has a lot of meaning to
Yeah.
it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. And moving on, Bashir, you have moved to Pakistan. What made you move to Pakistan? And you have started Shaheen Academy, and you did a lot of work. What made you do that?
Um, the reason for moving to Pakistan was, I mean, it was funny. I always had a feeling that I wanted to, like this compulsion, um, a calling from my heart, you could say, that I
Yeah.
wanted to give back to Pakistan. I wanted to do something for Pakistan. And so when I started getting into martial arts, I saw that this was a sport that was getting very popular around the world,
Yeah.
and that Pakistan um, had the right ingredients where it could also produce a champion, that it had a great sporting rivalry with India, with which that this sport could grow up on and attach itself to. So I thought, well, why not? And actually, when I started martial arts, one of my first instructors led a very positive impression on me. Um, and he was an older gentleman. He, at the time, was probably in his late 60s, early 70s,
Yeah.
and so he was really a mentor to me as to what it means to be a martial artist. And I kind of wanted to give that back to Pakistan. And
Yep.
it happened a lot sooner than I expected, but and that's really what brought me to Pakistan, and to really that was really the calling for it. And then what it became and what it morphed into in that story, yeah, I had no control over that. That was just what life brought me.
Yeah.
Um, uh,
Yeah, and you've just said about India, mentioned about India. My point of view is as well is like what no matter what happens in India, it directly affects Pakistan as well. Like I'm talking about the sports. Like
Correct.
if some sport
Absolutely.
has grown
Yes.
up in India, Pakistani will definitely do it. And
Yes.
you know,
Yes. Yeah.
so you practice Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I guess, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Am
Yes.
I
Yeah. Yeah. I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I mean, I kind of started with multiple martial arts all at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like once I started getting into martial arts, I took whatever class I could find. At that period, mixed martial arts just beginning to get popular in the United States, so
yeah,
it wasn't common to have lots of different mixed martial arts gyms.
yeah,
But I did like a self defense class, a very kind of a traditional, disarming with a weapon, and kind of a street self defense class. I did a Japanese jiu-jitsu class. I did a Brazilian jiu-jitsu class, and I did a Muay Thai class. And I was just doing different classes on different days of the week. So that's really I started with all these things at the same time.
yeah. And you started at like very late, and it's very
I
impressive.
guess, yeah,
A lot of
yeah, I
hard work
did.
it could take. Like most of the
Yeah.
MMA stars start at like I think 6, 7, I guess, and you start.
Yeah, some. I mean, like I was in a little bit of a unique situation.
Yeah,
There's a couple of factors. I did work hard.
mm,
Um, like I really once I got obsessed with it very quickly. Um, but that I'm looking back now, I wish I didn't work as hard in some of those situations. I may have worked too hard, but that
yeah,
just comes from getting older and wiser. But regardless, I worked hard. I like in boxing there was no sport, right? So it was very easy to make a name for yourself,
yeah,
right? For now somebody coming up, now the kids who are coming up, they are way ahead than when I was, but they have a lot more competition that they have to deal
yeah,
with now as well. In Asia, it was also relatively new, so it was also easy to build a name uh, for myself there. Um, and I mean, as I got older, I started. I think I trained a lot smarter than a lot of people did. I had a lot of exposure to a lot of top camps, so I mean, I made my professional debut when I was 30 years old,
yeah,
right? Yeah, so I made my professional debut when I was 30 years old, and I'm competing in um, the one of the largest mixed martial arts organizations in the world. So
indeed,
that not many people who I think will now be able to have that same kind of trajectory. Things are
yeah,
very different now. Things are very, very different now. I was really on the tail end of people who could start training in their mid-20s and be able to be a professional athlete. Now, if someone would start training at that age, their chances of being a professional athlete in mixed martial arts is very slim, very, very slim.
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
You have made your name, and I agree that things were very hard. Now, if like kids are coming up, like recently Ahmad Mustafa and other fighters,
Right.
but you are one, I believe, who has made a path for them.
Yeah. I mean, like somebody like Ahmad Mustafa. So, for example, any Pakistani fighter that anyone has ever heard of, right?
Yeah.
These are people that, for the most part, especially if they were in Pakistan, that I saw them compete in their very first MMA match.
Yeah.
Like Ahmad Mustafa is, I would say Ahmad Mustafa right now is 27 years old. So, and he's had like 12 fights, right? No, he's 27. Yeah. Just and I think he just turned 28.
Yeah.
So I was 30 when I made my professional debut.
Yeah.
He's 28 and he's got 12 fights, and somebody like him and that generation, these are the kids who were like, when I was 26, 27, they were 16, 17, 18 years old in Pakistan and just starting out. Like these were the new kids who had no idea about mixed martial arts, but had just heard about it, and wanted to get into it. And, through myself and through people at like Fight Fortress at the Sham Kareem and Sultan and people in 3G, there's some early adopters, in the sport that when I first, and learning under them, now this is the generation that's coming up. So it's very cool. Yeah. It's very cool to see.
Yeah. And Bashir, you have worked a lot in Pakistan. So one of my questions which I'm interested in is that what's one myth, specifically in Pakistan MMA, that you want to debunk? Like, what's one myth that people think?
I don't know. I don't know. What do you think is a myth? Like, I mean, if for yourself as and maybe somebody who's not really deep into the sport, or maybe you have friends that are familiar with it, what are some of the things that you hear about? I mean, I guess I could say maybe from the top of my head is that MMA is just for professionals, right?
Yeah.
Which I would say that's completely not a myth, and that's completely a myth, and that for the most part, the sport is actually supported by people who just want to be fit and learn it as a healthy way of learning self-defense, as a way to get fit while learning a skill at the same time.
Yeah.
That's like the majority of it, and it is absolutely not necessary for you to learn MMA and get quite good at it, and also like have to get your nose busted up and like be beat up all the time. That's absolutely not true. You can, there can very well be the person who's like the top level of MMA talent-wise and skill-wise in the country of, say, Pakistan, that will never compete ever. That'll never compete. It's also very, it's also very possible that the person who's best at MMA in the entire world, I mean, it's unlikely, but it's possible, also doesn't compete. But at the gym, they're beating up the world champions. But they don't like going out there and competing. They've got a day job or something like that. So yeah, I would say that's one myth.
Okay, and what do you think would have been the biggest obstacle for you? For Shaheen Academy and people to get into MMA. I mean, you are the pioneer who started getting people into MMA in Pakistan. What was the biggest obstacle? Like, I think there was no government support as well.
Yeah, but there still isn't government support, and I've mentioned a couple of times, and I've had interviews with like the press in Pakistan, that I'm not asking for government support either, and I think a lot of that comes from being an American, at least my viewpoint. I probably have a more conservative viewpoint, that I don't believe so much in government interference where it's not not necessary. I think if the government got involved with the growth of MMA in Pakistan, what would happen is that we would still be at the level that we are right now, and there would just be a lot of wasted money. That's it. That's the only difference, is that there would have been millions or billions of rupees spent, and the result is the same that is going on right now, that we have right now. The government does not need to do anything, right? Unless the government wants to be smart and look at the people who are actually working for free and be like, we'll give them money or we'll sponsor their events,
Yeah.
instead of being like, we're going to create a department and we're going to bring some guy from hockey and we're going to bring some guy who doesn't know anything. And then we're going to bring another guy who doesn't know anything. We're going to make this department for MMA, and all this money is going to be squandered. He's going to give it to his friend and he's going to find his childhood buddy who got a black belt in Taekwondo and just piss money away, just waste it. So don't need government support at all. I mean, if the private sector gets involved, right, because it's a great way for marketing, that's good. If the government wants to get involved by, allowing, say, free use of venues, right, things like that, that's fine. But if the government wants to get involved by giving people a salary and installing these bureaucrats and stuff like that, that's a complete waste of money.
Yeah, and I think media plays an important role in that as well, promoting the game.
Yes.
And Pakistani media is definitely not doing the good job, specifically for MMA.
No, and I have I have mixed feelings about that. I understand the media is only going to report on things that people are actually interested in, right? But the media also has the power to construct the narrative, right, and get people interested in things.
Yeah.
So you do see a little bit more media than before, but I think there was one writer, one journalist. His name is Zohaib Ahmad.
Okay.
Is that correct? But he used to write for Dawn. He used to work for Geo, I believe.
Yeah.
But he was really into MMA, like a hardcore fan, and he was writing some very good articles about MMA in Pakistan, and really getting deep into it, stuff that I found really interesting articles that I enjoyed reading. And he didn't have the response, and he was a very serious journalist, he's a very skilled journalist, and he's moved up in the world, right? But he I know the effort that he put into it, and he just didn't get the response that he needed to keep it going, despite him doing his best. So, a lot of journalists went into it and put it in, there's a coordinated effort. Yeah, maybe. But the reality I suppose that is that the sport is not that big yet. But what I see, and actually what I'm putting my hopes on, is not this mainstream media. It's not the Geo and the ARY, When the sport gets big enough, they will be there to cover it and to launch it to that next level. The important thing now is content created by people like yourselves are making social media pages independent of myself, and just out of their own interest for MMA in Pakistan, right? And then that helps bring the community and that builds upon the community. And then we can see the media come in, but you can't fault the media for not covering things that people aren't interested in. When I do know of, and there's actually another guy. His name is I forget his full name, but Burhan Saab. He used to work for Vakt News. He's also, covers MMA, and there's a journalist that people in the MMA community know that are interested, and they'll cover it, but. It's just really the interest is not there to follow it all the time.
I mean, I agree with you, but on the same time, as you said, media can make something out of
Make the narrative, yes.
If you see Amir Khan, the boxer, specifically Pakistani media has promoted him a lot. I mean,
yes.
In the headline.
You're right. You're 100% right. But then now you have to look at the fact that Amir Khan also won an Olympic medal, right? Yeah, Amir Khan won an Olympic medal and he makes millions of dollars. Whether or not Pakistan follows him, he is fighting top level guys and making millions of dollars, right?
Indeed.
So of course he's going to get that coverage,
Yeah.
And Mustafa had a great victory. The guys who fought and won in one championship, they had great victories. But we haven't had a champion in mixed martial arts, major organization. We don't have people earning millions of dollars, right? Yeah. We don't have any Olympians coming into MMA, I think the last medal that I can remember us winning in a combat sport was maybe at the Asian Games. There was a wrestler who won a gold. I want to say something Isan, but something like that. Yeah. But it was somewhat recently, maybe in the past 2 years. That got a lot of news, and a lot of traction. Yeah. If that person came into MMA, then maybe we'd have a lot more news coverage for that. So you're absolutely right. But like, there's a huge difference between what Amir Khan's level
Yeah.
and what he achieved and what people in MMA have achieved right now. I mean, the guy won a Olympic medal, you know?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
two-time champion, world champion. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
yeah. We should coming to the point you just spoke about wrestling.
Yeah.
I think wrestling plays important role in MMA as well. Like if we see Habib, like people used to neglect wrestling, and
Yeah.
Pakistan is hub of wrestling.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
did you approach wrestlers to come
Yes,
into
of course.
MMA?
Yes, of course. The issue with wrestling is that for one, there are now more wrestlers coming into MMA in Pakistan.
Okay.
As before, it was completely separate worlds, and it would be literally dragging people into, please come to our gym and train
Yeah.
in MMA. You know, like literally, there would be times where I would try to incentivize wrestlers to come in. I would be like, I'll pay for your for your transportation. You can teach like a class here and I'll pay you. So I tried really hard with that. And what I saw, my perception is that in Pakistan in wrestling, even as a young child, you can begin to earn money with it, right?
Yeah.
So your 8-year-old is into wrestling, or maybe you are from a wrestling family and you put your 8-year-old into wrestling. He's going to local akara, he's going to a
Yeah.
dangal, and he's bringing home 200, 300 rupees. Now that's not a lot of money. Maybe for a very poor family, that's, churoti mil jaya, they get a little something to eat that night, right? But there is a material thing that is immediately attached to competing wrestling from the get-go, from the very get-go.
Yeah.
Now you ask these same people, come to MMA and be an amateur and
Yeah.
possibly get you're at a sport where you're more likely to get hurt, right? Get your nose busted up or something like that, where then you can't train and can't do wrestling.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get paid for a long time.
Hmm.
There is no Asian Games. There is no department that you can ever work for. There is no infrastructure for this. And then if you make it through all the way through there, right, without getting anything, then maybe you can start making some money, and then it might just dry up, and then you have no recourse after that. Or you can stay in wrestling, right?
Yeah.
You can continue to earn money, even as a child. With each jungle, you get something,
Yeah.
right? Get something, and if you're very good, you can get a job with a department, with Vapda, with railway, with this, with that. There are Asian Games to work towards, or Olympics to work towards. It's just there is an ecosystem there that everyone is very aware of.
Hmm.
So that was the issue about getting the wrestlers into MMA. It's starting to happen more and more now. Now
Yeah.
you'll have a lot more. The big thing right now is that there are a few wrestlers that are coming into MMA, mostly into like jiu-jitsu. A lot of them, though, are people who couldn't really make it in the local wrestling scene, right? But now what you're seeing is wrestlers who are past the age of their high-level competition, right, in their 30s, maybe in their 40s. They're now starting coming over and teaching at MMA gyms, right, and teaching and imparting those lessons. So, but this takes time. It takes time to master something. It takes time to learn something. So,
Yeah.
if just now in these recent years we have people getting and starting to coach at MMA gyms, coach wrestling, then it'll take 10 years for someone who's competent from that
Yeah.
base to show themselves. So that's the situation right now with wrestling,
Yeah.
and it would be great if we could get a high level wrestler make the transition to MMA in Pakistan, and that could happen. I mean, that can happen next year. That could happen this year, well, probably not this year because of COVID, but as these games start up again, if you have a high level wrestler from the Asian Games wins a gold and it's like, you know what, I want to do MMA now. That's where I see the money is, then that could have caused a big change.
Yeah, and I think if you make one champion, big champion, a championship, it will help as well. Like people have this perception that
Exactly. Yeah.
we did this, then we are going to do this as well.
Exactly.
And the money factor, which you just told, like if the childs go to wrestling and they earn, it directly affects parents as well. I guess they then
Yes, exactly. That's the main thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
they
Yeah,
go.
that's the
And,
main thing.
I mean, not in a bad way. They are not like hating their child, but they are thinking about his future at the same time. The psychology of Desi
Yes.
parents,
Yes.
Yeah. So moving on, Bashir, I texted you as well. Your first fight, it was impressive.
Oh,
The
thank you.
fight,
Yeah.
like 3 rounds, and you were like bleeding, and it was all your blood. And how
Yeah.
was the experience, man? Like after you finished the fight, and
That was one of the greatest experiences of my life. It really was, because that was really, I had not actually had any real MMA fights before that because there was nowhere to compete in Pakistan. I had like 2 MMA fights against people who didn't know what they were doing. They were over, both fights were over in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Right. So to go out there at this level, and at the time, like I didn't really have much training partners either. You know,
Yeah.
I wasn't alone. I had a team. I had a lot of people supporting me. I had the entire MMA community of Pakistan supporting me, you know, and
Yeah.
it was a tight knit group, and everyone like was very, you know, brought together. It was very unified with this. So there was a lot of positive emotional memories with that. And then, I mean, really, I was not counted to win by anybody. Right, the odds I think were 2% in my favor on online
Yeah.
like betting and predictions. 2% was in my favor to win, and no one had represented Pakistan before. A lot
Yeah.
of the other countries like this, like, you know, people who were representing, say, India, or representing even China at the time, representing Malaysia, they were not doing well. Representing Egypt, you know, like it was, they were just losing, right? So
Yeah.
people, I thought, okay, Pakistani is here. They made it to this big stage. That's great. That's the accomplishment in and of itself.
Yeah.
And then with that, and then have a fight like that where, you know, it was a grueling fight. There was blood. There was, you
Yeah.
know, it
Yeah.
was,
I've seen it.
you know, it had a very iconic look to it, you know,
Yeah.
and then just have Pakistan win, like that was, yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. I mean, the greatest part of that fight really was when the round was over. In the first round, I had gotten cut, and I ended
Yeah.
up now on top of the other
No, I
person, right?
don't like that.
Yeah, I had changed the kind of the trajectory of the fight. At the end of the first round, I'm on top. I'm covered in blood. My opponent's covered in blood, and the round,
It was none of his blood, I guess.
yeah, none.
Yeah.
And the
Impressive.
round ends. You know, I clap hands with him. I get up and I look at the screen, and I see my face covered in blood, and you know, I have a big smile on my face, and then I
Yeah.
hear the crowd like roar, and I was like, yeah, this is amazing. Yeah,
Yes, man, and you showed true sportsmanship as well. You like
yeah,
both of you guys at end of the fight. You sat there for a while, and then it was
yeah,
Bashir. Like you fought in a big league, won championship.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
for the common like MMA player in Pakistan, let's say,
yeah, yeah.
how can he get into these big leagues, UFC? He has to apply. What is the process like now?
No.
Executive
I
of
mean, no. I mean, really, the process is that you have to build up a good record locally,
yeah,
and then you need to start beating people with experience, right? So, you know, for if you don't have experience, like if
yeah,
you're having 2 fights, 3 fights, 4 fights, even if you're undefeated, you're
yeah,
not going to come onto the radar of a big league. Like we are always scouting for people, always. You
yeah,
know, like I have probably looked at the profile of almost every single high level talent on planet Earth, right? And
right,
it's not just me, right? It's not just me. There's other people in all the large leagues who have the same like occupation as me, who have the same responsibilities as me.
yeah,
I've probably looked at almost every person on planet Earth, you know, who is at a high level and could compete. So for somebody in Pakistan, you know, or anywhere for that matter, you know, they need to start building up an undefeated record, ideally. You know, things are changed, right? This is I'm telling you what the, you know, if anybody who's listening to this, like I'm giving you the secret here. You know, I'm
yeah,
really giving you the recipe.
uh,
You know, build yourself an undefeated record. Um, 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, 8-0. And then after that, now you need to put that undefeated record at risk by starting to fight other experienced people. So we have your record, but now we want to see, are your skills there? You know, do you have the skills, and start defeating other experienced people? If you can win a belt, and
mhm,
even if it's a local level organization, but one that has you know, legitimate competition,
mm,
then that's another way. And you know, especially if you're a title holder in a medium level league. I'm not talking about a minor small league. Those are come a dime a dozen. No one cares about belts from there.
yeah,
But if you come from like, you know, like a regional powerhouse, right, and you have a belt there, then you are on the radar of every single MMA organization in the world.
okay,
Whether or not they want to take you, that is up to them. That depends upon how many people they have in that weight class, and what region they work in and what they want to do, and many factors come into play. But if you are a champion in a regional legitimate organization, you are now on the radar for any place in the world.
And do like if you sign up with one championship or a big league like that, do they pay you monthly or fighters, or like they pay for the fight?
It depends on the athlete. Every athlete is going to have a different deal negotiated with them, just like any other sport, whether it's football or
Contract.
cricket. Yeah, you have a contract, and everyone has different contract terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on, Bashir,
Mhm.
brother, Muhammad Ali, for both of us, we held him in high regards.
Yes.
Do you think that there would be in near future there would be anyone coming even closer to Muhammad Ali, or this status is unattainable?
A very interesting question. I want to say it's funny you asked that, because actually I just read a book. I've read a couple books, but I very recently read a book. It was like a 600-page book about Muhammad Ali.
Yeah,
I just finished it like a week ago.
yeah,
So I want to say that it's very possible that it's unattainable, because the way that things worked out, 100 years from now, he will almost be like a mythical legend,
yeah,
right? He won't necessarily even be a human being anymore, right? You will be something
yeah,
like, because like he was somebody that was alive in our lifetimes, right? But his legacy is so powerful that in 100 years from now, it would be very interesting to see how he is remembered.
yeah,
But now I want to say that maybe Conor McGregor has
yeah,
gotten close to that, and the reason is the one I'll like to say with Conor McGregor is, I mean, really the whole world knows him, right?
yeah.
Very
He
famous
came from
person.
nothing.
Yeah, and is that Conor is very, very clever with his use of words,
Yeah,
very, very clever, and so was Muhammad Ali.
yeah,
He's also very, very clever with his use of words. I mean, if you listen to things that he said, they're small, short, poetic, and genius. Really, so
yeah,
clever. And Connor has that too. But then if I think about if I really think about some of the things that in Muhammad Ali's heyday, like the level of fame that he had reached,
hmm,
maybe not. I don't think so, because like this was a time when there was no social media.
yeah,
Everybody still recognized him. Everybody still recognized him. The whole world. He could go to the middle of. Interesting fact is, at that time, Muhammad Ali, I think the only character on
hmm,
planet Earth who was more recognizable than him, and maybe it was or the same level, was Mickey Mouse.
yeah,
At that level, the only person was
hmm.
Mickey Mouse, right? So yeah, maybe it is unattainable. Yeah, it's a very good question. I would verge onto the side of saying that it's unattainable.
Yeah, I would definitely agree, because
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
Muhammad Ali, and he's
yeah.
the only person I have always wished to meet him, and
Right.
he's
Yeah.
gone, but he rest in peace. Bashir, religion played an important role in Muhammad Ali's
Hmm.
whole life,
Yeah.
as I think in Habib's whole life.
Yeah.
How the religion has played a role in your life, and specifically in your MMA career, how it helped you.
Right. Well, I played a very powerful role, and in fact, like for me, martial arts, like for a lot of people, and if you look at martial arts for a lot of people invokes like spirituality, right,
Hmm,
and faith,
hmm,
and martial arts really kind of helped me understand religion and faith, because we are in this life, and we have to kind of come to terms with our own mortality,
yeah,
right? And that is a big part of our experience in this life, and that is a big part of our relationship with God.
yeah,
Well, when you are, say, a soldier,
hmm,
or you are in some kind of combat, that mortality of yours becomes very close up in your face. That everyone has to face mortality, but for a lot of people, they can kind of ignore it until they get very old.
yeah,
For the soldier or for the martial artist, that is something that is in your face, right? That you have to deal with now, and you have to come to grips with now.
hmm,
Although mixed martial arts, there is not that danger of death. It is such of a high. I mean, we are not too many years away removed from when people would still be killing each other,
hmm,
right? Like with swords, and like we're not that far away removed from that thing, from that which is within our DNA.
Yeah.
So to go in there and prepare for a fight, right, where someone may knock you unconscious, who may try to choke you,
Mm.
where if there was no referee, they would be somebody trying to kill you, right?
Yeah.
If there was no referee, you would be facing death.
Yeah.
So in that context, it has absolutely um, played a very strong role in my life.
Oh, mashallah.
Mm.
That's very good to hear that as well. Bashir, if I ask you, who do you think is the best featherweight fighter in the world now in MMA?
The best featherweight in the world?
Yeah.
That is a tough question.
I mean, you can name two as well, two, three, multi.
Right. No, I may not. I would name two or three for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, possibly Martin Nguyen,
Mm.
possibly Gary Tonin,
Mm.
um, Max Holloway
Yeah.
is up there, although I think he might be competing for lightweight
Mm.
right now. But yeah, I would say these three.
Yeah. And do you think Habib is going to come back?
Uh, no, it's unlikely. Yeah, it's unlikely. I think he's the type of person, which also it's part of the reason why he's so legendary.
Yeah.
That he said he made a promise to his mother that he wasn't going to fight again.
Yeah.
Then I don't think that he will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Bashir, talking about Shaheen Academy again and just completing, what is Shaheen Academy doing now? And you moved into Thailand and you are working with One Championship. You know, you have set up an example and you have set up all the things. Do you think there are some people you left who will be doing the same? I mean, for Shaheen Academy and for the whole event
Well,
in Pakistan.
well, for Shaheen Academy, I interact with Shaheen Academy daily. Actually, every morning at 8:30 a.m. Thailand time, I do for those who join. I do a online video session with
Oh,
people from
that's
Shaheen every day, Monday through Friday.
impressive.
We have this, yeah. We it's kind of like a mentoring session for them, right? For the older ones, for example, the new year started. I had them write down their goals for the year.
Mhm.
And I will keep in touch with them. But what your goals are? What are you doing this month to help achieve your goals? What are you going to put
Yeah.
your plan for the next 3 months? What are you working on right now? Training. We'll do like an online, like a video training session together. So
Yeah.
I'm in contact with Shaheen daily, daily. So
Great.
I have very committed people managing Shaheen.
Hmm.
So for Shaheen, this is really just the beginning of the story. That's the very, very beginning of the story. Yeah, Shaheen is something that when I think about and I make arrangements for and I plan for, I'm thinking of a time scale of 100 years. Like Shaheen is not something where it's something for the time being, then someone else will, maybe do something similar. Shaheen is something that I want to create as an institution that will outlast me, that will
Yeah.
outlive me. Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, I have high hopes for Shaheen. And let's see what time brings
Yeah.
for the kids of Shaheen.
Yeah, I wish you best of luck for Shaheen. And
Thank
one more thing, I think people can donate to Shaheen Academy as well. How can they do that?
you.
Let me
Yeah.
list
Right now, yeah. Right now, the best way to donate to Shaheen would be through our GoFundMe account.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just gofundme.com/Shaheen Kids. If
Okay.
you Google GoFundMe Shaheen Kids, you'll be able to find it. Yeah, that's the best way to donate, because then when you donate, you add your email on there. You'll get updates with what's happening.
Hmm.
Put updates on the profile, and then of course you can always follow us on social media and see what's going on and
Yeah.
what we're doing. We will improve on this, but we definitely we make an effort to let people know what's happening, where your money is going, and
Hmm.
where these kids are, and what the updates are for the academy, what we plan on doing for the academy. So I think it's very important for those who are donating and want to stay connected, and most people
Yeah.
do, to follow us and see what we're doing.
Yeah. I would love to ask the link as well, so
Okay.
you can
Yeah,
put
for sure.
on the
Yeah, thank you.
YouTube channel, other channels we have, websites, so people can just
Okay,
go and donate it.
great.
One last question, Bashir.
Mhm.
What are your future plans? What are you going to do now? What?
I have a lot of future plans. I have a lot of future plans. I would say one is to create some kind of Shaheen affiliate here in Thailand,
Yeah,
to continue to grow Shaheen. It's to continue to learn about and get deeper involved in the sport at the level that I'm at,
yeah,
with one championship, and maybe do a couple more fights before calling it quits for good.
yeah.
Yeah. No.
Perfect. And I
No.
would, the quotes I like, the quote I like, and which relates you is Winston Churchill, that if you're going through hell, keep going, and you're
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely, you're
Yeah.
definitely one of them. Thank you very much, Bashir. It was
Thank you.
great talking to you, and
Thank you so
we,
much.
we as a community, we
Uh,
are proud of you, what you
Thank
did.
you. Thank
We work for South Asian community,
you.
so we're one of the stars, self-made stars of
Hmm.
ours, and we wish you best of luck and thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for your time.
Thank you so much.